touring the AFC South, and I am not by myself. I have, if you're looking at the screen, it's to my, I believe, right. Okay. That is NFL draft analyst for the 3-point conversion, Cortland Griffin. What's going on, man? All right.
Not much, man. We're ready to talk about this ridiculousness.
Right down below me on your screen, coming from the West Coast or the Pacific Northwest, whichever you prefer. But we have Mr. Chris Lewis II. He is the host of the Drop Balls podcast. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? What's up?
And for those that don't know, he is a Colts fan in the Northwest. So yeah, he is a rarity. Like, you might find him out there with Waldo. So but thank you for coming on tonight. And below me to the right, we have beat writer for the Florida Times Union covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, Mr. John Reed. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Always doing good.
Well, we're going to talk about your favorite topic of the week to start the show. Before we get into the show, which the show is about the Hall of Fame dreams, which is basically guys that could potentially be Hall of Famers, and we're going to state the case for them tonight, or the case for them not to be Hall of Famers tonight. But first, we got some hot topics in the AFC South, and no topic is hotter than Mr. Tim Tebow and the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is said that he will be signing a one-year deal to be a tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And John, I couldn't avoid this topic. Yeah. So, does he add anything to the team? That is my first question.
Well, let me put it like this, man. In Duval County, he's considered to be a hero for obvious reasons. But when you go outside this county and you listen to what the feedback has been on Twitter from former players, and it's almost like he's getting an opportunity that not afforded to most other players in the same situation, being a 33-year-old. What will he provide? I mean, obviously he's somebody that Urban Meyer obviously has great regard. I mean, they won 2 national championships, obviously, at Florida. And yes, he would be someone in the locker room to help a young team. And Urban Meyer is a guy, he almost seemed to me like he'd do anything to win. So he wants people around him who's been around him and understand what he's all about, what he demands, what he wants. So yes, he's in that picture of helping the head coach. I mean, obviously that, but I mean, come on. I mean, he never played tight end in his career. And sometimes I hate to say things like, this wouldn't happen to any other franchise other than the Jaguars, and it's almost to the point that it wouldn't, The Jaguars definitely have a tight end room that it's not good. They didn't go out in free agency and get a pass catching tight end. They had opportunities in the draft. They didn't go out and get one. And let's be truthful here. I mean, Tim Tebow is not going to be that pass catching tight end that they need. If anything, he'll be a third string guy, probably be like an H-back that he can be used, maybe in goal line situation in the red zone. But I mean, this is the NFL. This is not like you're on the job training, so to speak. And it's not, and definitely for a team coming off a 1-15 season, you don't experiment, you don't do favors. The bottom line is winning.
Right. And to me, like you said, they were hurting at the tight end position, and unless he's coming in there turn water into wine, I don't see him helping that team at all. But you know, I did have a thought on him though. What if he's there to play a dual role? What if he's there to be a backup tight end and a special team player, but he also helps cut some money from the team by also being the team chaplain before games. So what if he's the dual role for the team?
Hey, what I say is this: hey, whatever you write about him, you get a whole lot of page views. So he definitely got a following. But I think if they wanted to make him a coach, then just make him a coach. Don't try to play this player role. If his impact is to help a young team and all the things he do with his persona and his willpower and his desire, then just make him an assistant coach. Don't take a roster spot that could be needed for a player that can really contribute a lot more than what Tim Tebow can do. So go out and just put it on the table, make him a staff member or something like that to help in the team in that way. But as you said, this team 1-15, man. You can't give away roster spots when you only got 53 of them. So I don't
know. I hear you there, and it definitely speaks to my second question was, do we care too much about this situation? But I think that's been answered over and over and over again. We've talked about a guy that might not even make the team like he's a superstar. And we meaning the media and just Twitter and social media as a whole. So, maybe we need to back off with Tim Tebow, let him do whatever he does, if he does anything, let him run that little out pattern, like he ran for the Jets and didn't even see the ball and ball hit him in the back. That one. Let him do those type of things, and then we'll see what happens. So on to the next one, and we're going to talk about the Colts. And Mr. Eric Fisher has decided to sign with the Indianapolis Colts. I'm coming to you on this one, Chris. Should his health concern the Colts since, he did tear his Achilles, in the playoffs last season? Should that be concerning for the Colts?
To me, it should only be concerning if this was like the 70s through the 90s. If it was 1970 through 1990, then yeah, it should be concerning. But medical advances and surgeries have gotten so far advanced that it's really, to me, it's not a big deal. For one, it happened like 4 months ago. He had the surgery. By time season starts, it'll be like 8 to 9 months before he really sees the field. Now, I tore my Achilles back in 2016. No, I don't have the millions of dollars he has. I don't have none of the money he got. So I can't afford the personal trainers and all of that he can afford. And my Achilles feels better than it's ever felt. So, I mean, like I said, I can go back and do the same things I used to do when I was playing sports and all of that with my Achilles and everything. So I don't really have any concern for him. The Colts shouldn't. I mean, they have two other guys that tore their Achilles. They got Marlon Mack and then the dude we drafted, Dayo, out of, I think, Wake Forest, defensive end. So, I mean, I don't think it should be a concern at all. I'm pretty sure he'll be fine. They do a lot of stuff now with the Achilles as far as with the surgery. I think with mine, there's like a little, they braid the Achilles with like some type of not foam, but like a strand or something that's durable to make it like stick together. So I mean, they braid the Achilles together with that and make it reconjoin and everything. So he'll be all right.
Man, he kind of gave me a little bit of a medical breakdown too, man. Did you stay at a Holiday Inn last night?
Can I add something to that though?
Go ahead.
My thing with what Chris said is, with the medical advances, yes, everything is different. Everything has definitely advanced, definitely with like ACL tears and ligament damage. Period. Ligament damage back in the 90s. Just as recently as the 90s was a career ending. My thing is, if you look at the guys that have bounced back in football from those ligament tears, none of them have ever been big men. You know what I mean? It's kind of like in basketball.
Well, you got Terrell Suggs. You got Jason Peters who tore his, and then I think he tore his in like 2012, 2013. Came back and had 4 Pro Bowl seasons. 2013, he was first team All Pro. So I mean, you have some dudes that have. So that's why I really don't see it as a concern, to be honest.
My counter argument to that is though, those guys are coming at you. You know, they don't have.
Well, not Jason Peters. He's an offensive tackle.
Well, yeah, Jason Peters, but Jason Peters also is a different breed of. That's a different breed of dude.
No, he is.
Yeah, with Eric Fisher, we've seen his injury concerns pile up over the years. This isn't the first injury that he's had that makes you concerned. Now, do I think it's a good pickup for the Colts? It's an amazing pickup for the Colts. If he comes back and he's a booking left, blindside, protector for Carson Wentz. Definitely in a division where pass rushers, each team has gotten better on the pass rushing end, with the exception of the Texans. So, it's a good pickup for the Colts if he pans out medically. But with Achilles injuries, it's a spectrum. You can either get the guy that bounces back, or you get the guy who has a setback. So, and so like we got a guy, Bud Dupree, coming off an ACL injury. He can either take a step forward or he can take a step back. Ligament damage, it's a case by case basis. But
ligament damage, because I tore my ACL in college playing football, tore my Achilles after I graduated. But with the ACL, I mean, really, my biggest thing I think with injuries, especially with ligament damage, like you were saying, case by case, I think. The ACL, because when they replace that, they take a piece of your hamstring, and either it takes or it doesn't. And you can re-rupture it and all that. But I think most of it is all mental. If you don't have it mentally, then you're not going to get back to where you used to be. That's where I see it, because that's what happened to me in college, where I tore my ACL, and then going back to football practice and going back to the field and everything after that, everything was mental. Like when I didn't have the brace on, I was fine. But when they told me, oh, if you want to practice, you got to wear the brace, that's when mentally I just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, you trying to watch the knee and, watching guys around your feet.
Exactly. Yeah. But when I didn't have the brace on, I was just like, all right, cool. I'm going to go do what I used to do. And I was able to do that. But as soon as I put that brace on, everything mentally just got screwed up. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, I agree with you, but
I had a minor, I had a minor separation in my shoulder, and I was afraid to take contact for about 3 months. So I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes our hot topics for today, tonight. And now we're into the meat of the show. Hall of Fame. It's not for the Hall of Very Good. It's for the guys that went out there and owned it and just were dominant during their time. There's a lot of great football players and coaches that are in there. There's a lot of great football players that are not as well. But tonight we're going to talk about a couple players from each of the 4 teams in the AFC South that either should be in or should not be in. And we're going to state their cases tonight. First up is the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm coming right to you, Chris. We're going to talk about first Mr. Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne I'm going to give you his stats, by the way. For all those that are watching, I'm going to give the stats as well, so that way you're well informed with the answer that's coming as well. Okay. So Reggie Wayne is 6-time Pro Bowler, and yeah, I am reading because it's a lot of stats to have and go over. Okay, there you go. All right. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler. 4 times he had over 100 plus reception seasons. Let's see, 8 1,000-yard seasons, 82 career touchdowns, 14,345 career yards. Was a first-team All-Pro in 2010 and was the receiving yards leader in 2007. He does have 1 title as well, so you got to add that to the list. All right, I gave you a quick rundown of Reggie Wayne, who used to catch those touchdown passes from Peyton Manning and run the stately Wayne manner, as Chris Berman would say. But, so Chris, I'm coming right to you. Do you think Reggie Wayne should be a Hall of Famer?
So with Reggie Wayne, yeah, I think he should get into the Hall of Fame. Now I believe he was a finalist this year, but didn't make the cut. But I definitely think he should get in. He's top 10 in yards, I believe. So I think, I mean, when it comes to touchdowns, though, like I want to say something like 26 or something like that on the all-time touchdowns list for receiver. But I mean, just what he brought to the game, especially for the Colts, I think he should be able to get into the Hall of Fame.
All right. Do we have any rebuttal to why he should not be in the Hall of Fame from anyone? I'm going to come to you first, John. Do you agree?
No, I covered him in high school, so no, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think he's a great player. Always has been.
Portland.
My only objection to Reggie Wayne would be he played in an era where Randy Moss was still at the peak of his powers, T.O. was still at the peak of his powers, and then you had up-and-comers like Megatron, you had up-and-comers like, or guys who were established like Andre Johnson, and these are just in his own division. So, or like, Andre Johnson was in his own division. And then you had his teammate Marvin Harrison, who was still, it wasn't until what? Marvin Harrison didn't leave the league till
2008.
2008. Okay, so I gave him 2 more years. I'm sorry. So 2008. So you got to look at, he's competing with, when you talk about the Hall of Fame, you're not just comparing guys all the time. You're also comparing them within their era. And I mean, Reggie Wayne, if you compare him all the time, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. Like Chris said, he was a finalist this year. He didn't make the cut. I think only one receiver made it in. That was Megatron this year. So, next year, Reggie Wayne, I believe he should get his turn. But if you're comparing him within his era, he's maybe the 7th or 8th best guy in his era. If you're counting the guys that were still doing it, you know what I mean? Like he's maybe the 7th, 8th, but most of those guys are in the Hall of Fame or Hall of Fame consideration. But that's my only objection to him. But he was a finalist this year. Next year, definitely second ballot. He should definitely get in. But that would be my only objection if I was a voter. But I would still give him the nod as far as a Hall of Fame.
Well, I will say this, Chris, you definitely have somebody that agrees with you. That'd be Mr. Jason Kierman. Nice comment here. Reggie Wayne is definitely a Hall of Famer. He never had a bad year. And with Harrison getting all those numbers, Wayne still got his. I can't disagree. I can't really disagree. And he got a message for you too, by the way. Hold on, let me go ahead and put this up there too. And it is an ode to Crisscross with this one. Just wait till you see it. There you go. There you go. All right. Well, we talked Reggie Wayne. Let's go defense. Mr. Dwight Freiny. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler. 125 and a half career sacks, good for number 18 on the NFL sacks list. He had 7 double-digit sack seasons. 3 times he was a first-team All-Pro, and he led the league in sacks in 2004. Now, I know his whole career was not with the Indianapolis Colts. However, that is where he made his fame and fortune for majority of it. So, Chris, he is Dwight Freiny, a Hall of Famer.
I'm still on the fence about it. I mean, if you look at his indie numbers, yeah, like for sure, he put up numbers. He did his thing, but he also had Robert Mathis on the other side of him too, who also did his thing.
Yeah, who?
But Robert Mathis.
No, I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding. I know who he is.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, come on now. But he also had him. But after he left Indy, he kind of fell off for I think it was maybe 5 or 6 more years he played, and he just fell off the face of the earth. Besides the 1 year he had with Arizona, but I don't know. I'm still, like I said, I'm still on the fence about him. I'm really not 100% sure on him.
All right. Well, John or Cortland, can one of you all knock Dwight Freiny off the fence, whether he's in or whether he's out? John, I'm coming to you first.
I don't think he deserved to be in. I don't think over the course of his career that he did enough to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, the sacks numbers is good, but just I don't know, just overall complete, like of his career. I don't think he stack up with people that's already in there. Just my opinion.
But he's number 18 on the sack list, though.
Yeah, let's get him in the top 10. Then it won't be a debate.
There you go. I can't even argue with you. You got anything to add to that one?
I mean, again, we're comparing within the era as far as, and also all time, 18th on the sack or top 20 on the sack list within his era. One of the best, most feared pass rushers in the game. I mean, I don't see what the argument is. To me, he's a Hall of Famer, and plus he was better than his contemporary on the same team, and Robert Mathis, who's also in Hall of Fame contention. So when you're talking about comparing a guy within his own era, and he has a teammate right across from him who you can't say was better than him. You can't say Robert Mathis was better than him. It wasn't until Dwight Freiny left that Robert Mathis really emerged as a number one pass rusher. That was the Dwight Freiny show, and Robert Mathis kind of played off of him. So I think you got to give Dwight Freiny the nod. And that hurts saying because he's a Colts player. And he sacked plenty of my quarterbacks. But, I mean, the dude was just, I mean, even when he went to Atlanta, I believe, or the Jets or whatever else, he was still terrorizing quarterbacks, even as a pass rush specialist. So the dude was still able to do it, even though he didn't have the juice that he had in his younger years. And also, look at his tape. Go back and watch NFL films. All the people that's watching, go back and watch NFL films. Dude had one of the best, if not the best, pass rush spin move of all time.
Yeah, his spin move was killer. His spin move was killer.
Dude was ridiculous. That alone should get him in the Hall.
Well, one of y'all mentioned the one thing that I was thinking about the entire time. He was super short getting this done. It wasn't like he was 6'3" getting this done. He was 5'10".
The White was 5'10".
What's that?
The White was 5'10".
The White was short, man.
I thought he was like at least 6 foot.
Yeah, I'm like,
maybe 6 foot, but they might have listed him generously as 6 foot.
If he's 5'10", then yeah, he should be Hall of Fame. Like that pushes him off the fence right there.
Because so the White was 5'10", then how tall is James Harrison?
Like 6'1", maybe.
Is he?
Maybe.
You sure?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
That's generous.
Right now. Hold on. I think John's having a little technical difficulties. He'll be right back.
Because
everybody's watching. But
White, I don't know. Maybe it's because he was, eating quarterbacks alive. Dude looked like he was about 6'3". I don't know. Maybe
I'll look it up.
They got James Harrison listed as
how tall he was. Well, actually, my mistake. He was listed as 6'1". But do I think he was really 6'1"? No, I do not.
I'm gonna say because if the White was 5'10", that means James Harrison was about 5'6". Because neither one of them dudes was big, so I'm like, the White looked all the 6'3" coming off the edge.
Ah, boy. So Harrison was 6 foot. We got an answer. We got an official confirmation from Jason Fairman. Jason says that Harrison was 6 foot. So hey, there you go. He wasn't 5'6". So hey, we all lost there. All right, let's see the next team up, and hopefully we get John back. He's probably having a little technical difficulties, but hey, that's all right. It happens. Let's see. We got the Tennessee Titans are up next. Now, one thing I would say is, it would be nice if we had like Tila playing a little Tennessee Titans song right about now. I know you remember that song. Corlin, I know you remember it.
Oh, yeah.
Him yelling the Tennessee Titans and all that stuff. I know you remember that. So, yeah. So let's talk about one of the Tennessee Titans' favorite sons. That'd be Mr. Frank Wycheck. Now, his numbers aren't necessarily outstanding. I'll say that to start. His numbers aren't necessarily outstanding. But his impact was great. He only had 28 touchdowns for his career. That's pretty poor. But I will say this, when he was with the Titans, he was the guy. He was the only weapon they had besides when Derek Mason came along in the passing game. He was pretty much the guy, and I will say this, he will always be remembered for the Music City Miracle and throwing that pass to Kevin Dyson while he coasted down the sideline. And the Buffalo Bills just go crazy and be sad and think about all the mess ups and fumbles and all those type of things that happened to them over time. Now, he didn't have any 1,000-yard receiving seasons, but Frank Wycheck is number one in somebody's heart as a Tennessee Titans fan. Now, Cortland, I come to you. As a Tennessee Titans fan, I know you are. Is he a Hall of Famer?
It's a swift no.
All right.
It's a swift no. And
I was expecting you to say yes, but go ahead.
No, it's a no. And the reason is because the issue that I have with Frank Wycheck, which was the issue that you have with a lot of Titans greats, is they had great team success, but did not have a lot of great NFL success, if that makes sense. If you look at his numbers stacked up to other Hall of Famers, he's slightly worse than John Mackey as far as yards go. I think he's at 500 and something receptions. So he's slightly better than Jackie Smith. Both of those guys played in the 60s. You see what I'm saying? So it's when you start to weigh him next to the era that he played in, he's nowhere near. Shannon Sharp was there. Antonio Gates was starting to emerge. Tony Gonzalez was there. The modern day tight end has started to become more of a resemblance of what you see now. And Frank Wycheck was more akin to the old school tight end. Inline blocker, pass blocker, chipped defensive ends. He could take you going one-on-one. Now, if you're going to give him a Hall of Fame nod just based off of what his intangibles were, then okay. But as far as the numbers and just his impact NFL-wide and comparing him to his contemporaries, I can't give him a Hall of Fame nod.
All right. Now, Cortland, I must say, I was expecting you to come up with some out-the-box, over the rainbow, luck of the Irish, four-leaf clover type answer.
I mean,
why he was going to be a Hall of Famer.
The only thing I can think of is because he was the catalyst for the Music City Miracle. And if you want to put the onus on moments, if you want to give the Hall of Fame for moments, then a lot of guys should be in the Hall of Fame. Desmond Howard should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys should be in the Hall of Fame because of moments in big games. But as far as the entirety of his career, do I believe that he would have been better off had he not had the neck injuries and the concussions? Yes. Maybe if he was sitting at 7K, maybe 8K, maybe 700 receptions or so, maybe 40, 50 plus touchdowns, I could see it. Because then you can kind of give him a comparison. But it's just hard to give Frank that nod for the NFL Hall of Fame. Titans Hall of Fame, surefire. Surefire. It's no questions. You know what I mean? The dude can come to Nashville anytime and get free anything. But as far as going to Canton, I can't see it. Maybe there is a Titans fan out there that'll argue me down and maybe disagrees, but I can't give that nod.
All right. Now, Chris, first, I'm thinking, are you shocked by what you just heard? Did you think he was going to say he was a Hall of Famer?
Nah, I'm not shocked.
I
I mean, I agree with him. Like, I really don't think he is. Like he said, if it's Titans Hall of Fame, then yeah, for sure. But NFL Hall of Famer, nah,
All right.
not at all.
As far as now, John, we just talked about the Titans and Frank Wycheck. So yeah, that was a solid no from Cortland. You know, he's Titans fan all day long, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna make it a solid sweep that he's not a Hall of Famer, correct?
No. And sorry for the.
Yeah, I figured I'd throw a wrinkle or two in there. I can't just make these all hard cases. So, you know, I could have said Eddie George. I thought about it, but
now Eddie, I could have gave you. I could have pulled something
I
out.
don't know. I had to make you. I had to give you a couple. I had to give you one live, man. At least one.
I could have pulled something out for Eddie. You know, Frank is like, if he make it in, that's gonna be one of them. Like you gonna see a lot of guys get pissed. Like, and at that moment, I'll be like, hey, I can't even defend it. But you know,
Well, man,
we'll take what we can get.
What's that?
I said, but as Titans fans, we'll take what we can get.
Gotcha. Man, you ain't supposed to be like that, man. You're supposed to take everything. But no, we'll come back to that one though. But I'm looking in the comment section. I want to say, if for those that don't know, we're broadcasting this from the Haps app. You can come to the Haps app and actually broadcast anywhere, whether it be YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I mean, anywhere you can think of, Twitch. You can do it all from one place, which is the Haps app. Come on, join in, join the fun, join the broadcasting excellence. And as I see in the comments over here, we've got Ted Hicks and Tony D. They in the building. Of course, they having their own conversation, talk about their day, but you know they would like to talk about some AFC South sometime. But you know they be all right. Those my boys over there. They be all right. But as far as the next guy we're gonna talk about, I still remember where I was in the day he passed away. I was in Alabama, and somebody actually called my phone and said that this man had died. And I was in shock. I couldn't believe it, one. And just I kept asking again. I was like, are you serious? Where's the news? Who's got the sports station on? I need to see that this is real. I don't believe it. But, you know, rest in peace to Steve McNair. But we do have to talk about him in terms of the Hall of Fame. All right, here we go. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler. He was the NFL MVP, co-MVP with Indianapolis Colts, Peyton Manning, in 2003. He had a career 60% completion percentage, 174 career passing TDs. Now, I will say this is bad, but 119 career interceptions and 31,304 career passing yards. Now, I know that doesn't talk about all the grit and all the things that he did, you know, in terms of a player and playing through a back surgery and all those type of things or injured back. But, Cortland, I'll come to you again, sir. My good Nashville, Tennessee, sir. Is he Steve McNair, a Hall of Famer?
Most definitely, no questions. There's no argument. There's no argument in your right mind if you're a football fan that you can put against Steve McNair for what he did in his era, as far as and also NFL success, like widespread NFL success. We put guys in the NFL Hall of Fame for less than what this man accomplished. I still think in 2003 he got cheated out of a MVP because
hold up, Cortland. Look, man, Chris, I ain't say it. That's all I'm gonna say. Chris, I ain't say it. Y'all two want to duke it out on social media. That's on y'all. But hey, Chris, I ain't in this. Go ahead, Cortland. Go ahead, Cortland.
When you look at what that man did, right, as far as his that season, there's no question he was the lone MVP, but they had to share it with Peyton. But even before that, look at what he did in '99. Even with the Music City Miracle happening, look at what he did in the Super Bowl. Had we not come up a yard short, we're talking about about Steve McNair in a totally different era. You know what I'm saying? That's maybe the one argument that you have against him, but the play that he exhibited, the heart he exhibited. When you have guys, and to me, when you talk about Hall of Fame, you talk about players in the Hall of Fame. A lot of times you're in the Hall of Fame because there's only one you. You know, there wasn't another guy that you can say did what you did. I don't think you can name another guy that's another Steve McNair. You know what I mean? Like the speed, the size, the arm strength, the IQ, the heart, the playing through the injuries, the will to win, the competitive nature, the camaraderie, the team leader for two different franchises at that. His impact was ridiculous, man. Like, and I understand people gonna say, well, he only had 31,000 yards, and he only had 174, and his touchdown and interception ratio. I get all of that, but look at what he did: multiple winning seasons as a Titan, winning seasons as a Baltimore Raven, Super Bowl appearance, multiple AFC Championship game appearances. Like I said, clutch play, clutch gene. He had it. He was able to do it. Had he had more weapons around him, had he had a healthy offensive line a couple of years, do I think he wins the Super Bowl? Yes. Had the Rams not made a clutch tackle, you know, maybe if Kevin Dyson's arms are just a little bit longer, you know, okay. You know what I mean? But to me, Steve McNair is no question a Hall of Fame.
All right. You know, Cortland, you know, I appreciate this love affair that you gave to Steve McNair. I'll say thank you to LA for giving me an appreciate award. Appreciate you too, LA. And but I hear you what you're saying. But you know, I remember, you know, and you gave so much love to Steve McNair. It was crazy that when Steve McNair was a starter here in Tennessee back in that time, there was a man named Neil O'Donnell that everybody kept saying should have been the starter so many different times. And it drove me crazy. So it's amazing the amount of love that Steve McNair gets now from Titans fans. But back at that time, they wanted to replace him with Neil O'Donnell. Yes, that same Neil O'Donnell that was in the Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers and came here to be a backup. And that Neil O'Donnell.
You never realize what you have until it's gone.
What's that?
That you never realize what you have until it's gone. And that's been the mantra for the Tennessee Titans since '99. We've had a very bad history of not giving guys flowers while they're here, and then waiting until they're with another team and they're playing well. We did it with Javon Curse. We did it with Blaine Bishop. We did it with Derek Mason. We especially did it with Steve McNair. We waited until those guys were on other teams producing and having success to say, oh, man, that guy was really great. Oh, man, we wish we still had him. Man, we shouldn't have let him go. You know what I mean? So I think with Steve, I've always been a Steve fan. Ever since my mom worked at the Baptist Sports Center, and I was seeing him, you know, in there getting his ribs taped up, and, you know, Eddie in there with his, you know, getting his turf toe taped and ankle taped, and being able to see those guys interact with those guys. To me, Steve has always been that guy. He was always bigger than life to me. So I kind of have a bias. It's even more than just a Titans fan, but almost I feel like a personal relationship with Steve because of that. So yeah, to me, there's strictly football. The dude's a Hall of Famer, man. It's hard. Like I said, it's hard to name another player. You have to probably combine two players now, currently in the NFL. I can only really name two players now in the NFL that even embody what Steve McNair was, and even then they're missing things that made Steve. So
I'll you know, throw one other name in there too of people that were missed and never appreciated until they were gone too. And it's a little bit more closer to this era, I would say. That'd be Chris Johnson. A lot of people didn't appreciate him until he left either.
That too, but he kind of reached into his rope too. But you know, whatever.
I'll say this about Chris Johnson, and then I'll move on to John and Chris. A a lot of things about Chris Johnson. People were saying, "Oh, it's his offensive. It's him. He's not doing this. He's doing that. He's doing this, that, and the other." But did anyone ever look at how his offensive line was playing like turnstiles out there in New York? Did they ever look at that portion of the game? And the thing is, he's getting touched in the backfield before he even gets going. Derrick Henry doesn't get touched before he gets going. So that's why I'm like, the criticism he took for how he played, I understand some of it, but where was that same criticism for that offensive line? Where was that same criticism for that offensive line? So there we go. That's what I got. Now, John, do you think Mr. Steve McNair is a Hall of Famer?
I have to agree with my man. Yeah, I do. I think there should not. I'll say this. I think there should be more criteria for a Hall of Famer than we always go by the numbers. We always go by, we put that list out and he ranks in the top 10. But I also think you have to consider, I remember when Steve McNair came out of Alcorn and there was, all these, he ain't played in against no competition. He was in the SWAC and, he got dynamic talent, but I don't think it's going to translate to this level. I heard all that. And he came in, heard all that. He may not meet expectations and all that. Look what he did. I think sometimes you have to judge impact on the franchise. What did he do to take this franchise to that level? If somebody else was in his position, you think that what they would have had the impact that Steve McNair had. And I say no, and I think they got to be a different judgment of just, it always look like the same boxes get checked on who deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think that maybe sometimes you have to look at a dynamic talent. I think he transcended that position. I think he did things that beyond the call. He played, obviously, a lot of guys play hurt, but he played hurt a lot of times. And just his sheer talent. I actually saw him at Alcorn, and he ran a lot more at Alcorn than he did in the pros. But it's just that even when he was with Tennessee, there were things that he did that just like, man, I don't think you could put 16 quarterbacks and could do the same thing that Steve McNair did. So just from pure athleticism to just making plays, persevering, going through and helping that franchise be on par and making it to the Super Bowl. So I think sometimes you have to look at all kind of considerations and look at what makes him unique. And I think he was a unique talent at that position. And I think he was a trendsetter at that position also. So, yeah, he deserved it. I think he was a unique talent at quarterback.
All right. And Chris, do you have anything else to add to this conversation?
Yeah, so I agree with everything they said, and honestly, I think that's what led Jeff Fisher and them to go Vince Young in 2006 because of what they had in McNair after they let him go and everything. What they had in McNair, they wanted to get somebody that embodied McNair, so they went Vince Young because they thought that's what he could be. 6'5", big dude, and we saw what he did in college, saw what he did against USC. So, he transcended the game, and he set the tone for that position for the up and coming, especially black quarterbacks, the up and coming black quarterbacks coming into the league like Vince Young and the rest of them. So, yeah, I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame just off of that, really. But when you look at the body of work and everything too, why not? He did everything he needed to do and played at the highest level.
And the thing about it is nobody talks about that was a running offense majority of the time he was even there. Nobody talks about that. Jeff Fisher, third downs, and I'm sorry. People used to call him field goal Fisher too. So
yeah,
I don't know if you knew that one, John. But yeah, people used to call him Field Goal Fisher here in Nashville. And even now, when people mention his name, they still say Field Goal Fisher. So,
but to piggyback off of what John said too, man, when he came out of Alcorn, you didn't really hear about too many HBCU quarterbacks, and you can really name the HBCU quarterbacks that came before him that really had notoriety. Joe Gillum Jr. With Pittsburgh, and then Doug Williams. So, and those two guys actually played on Super Bowl teams. So you had another guy coming from HBCU in Alcorn, and then coming into the NFL and actually being a starter and taking a team, upstart team, first year in the city to a Super Bowl and almost winning it. It's like I said, the precedent was set at that moment, and I think where you get the issue with Steve is he set the bar so high so early that it was hard to live up to that, and then it's almost like a LeBron James type situation. The expectation was set. He set the bar, and then he broke the bar by winning by co-MVP in 3 years later after going to a Super Bowl. So the dude it was something about him. He just, in the way he carried himself, the way he produced, and the heart. I mean, it's the heart. The heart was alone. Like he should just make it in the Hall of Fame. Even if you don't say Steve McNair, just take his heart and say Steve McNair's heart is a Hall of Fame. Because, like I said, you got guys now that with a cracked sternum. How many guys can go out there and play a game with a cracked sternum? You know what I mean?
Keith Sweat had that answer. Cortland, Keith Sweat had that answer. And I believe that answer was nobody. Thank you.
And too bad. And like what Chris said, man, is with Steve, we did get Vince Young, and as much as I love Vince Young, we missed Trey Lance by 15 years.
I ought to turn your camera off right now.
We missed Trey Lance by 15 years. Because honestly,
I'm not gonna
when I was doing my draft, when I was doing my draft big board, and I was doing pro comparisons, and I looked at Trey Lance, even though he didn't go to a HBCU, everything about him. If you go back and look at Steve McNair's Alcorn tape, and then look at Trey Lance's North Dakota State tape, same player, same heart, same body build, same just it was almost like it almost brought a tear to my eye. I was like, dude, I'm watching this kid. And he looks like not physically, but his gameplay is Steve McNair made over.
Well, I get you there, Cortland. I was just kind of picking with the 15 years and stuff, man. I'm like,
we just missed him.
So basically, what you're saying is you did like some Back to the Future stuff, saw him, and then tried to come back and say the Titans need to do this. Basically, what you tried to say.
And we would have just, if I could go back in time with a time machine, I'd been like, "Hey, just tank.
Don't make me call Raphael and tell him to give you a stop it. Don't make me call him.
That's fine. I'll take it. I'll stand by that one.
Oh man, I'm kidding. But I'll say this, Jason. With another comment here. Here's what he got. He said, I'm gonna put the other comment on here too, Cortland, because I saw your answer to it. See, I'll say this. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but he is one of the best pure football players I've ever seen. Well, if he's one of the best pure football players you've ever seen, then doesn't that warrant to be the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
That's just me. But and then the other comment. Let's see. And Cortland, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm just saying don't. McNair is like Big Ben and Andrew Luck. I think I get where he was going with that one, with the toughness and with how they carried themselves, but I think McNair is on a whole nother level of toughness.
I need a Stephen A. Smith gif of just blasphemy. Because the only two guys that I can name right now in the league that embody what Steve McNair was is Patrick Mahomes. After watching what Patrick Mahomes did in the Super Bowl this past year, and the heart that kid has, the ability, the athletic, the size, I just haven't seen the heart yet. I mean, you kind of saw it in the Super Bowl, but I just haven't seen it on a consistent basis. But Patrick Mahomes if there was a Steve McNair award, I would give it to Patrick Mahomes this year. And I would have to say Big Ben from a
You said you would give the Patrick Mahomes that.
If there was a Steve McNair award for just pure heart and like what we had a, like I said, like you got the Walter Payton Award. You had a Steve McNair Award just for for toughness and heart at the quarterback position. I would give it to Patrick Mahomes this year. And then just because of what he's able to do and how he plays and the passion he plays with, and because he's a Ravens player, I would give it to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson plays with that same kind of heart that Steve played with, and he's doing it in a run first offense. So
I got you. Now I would mention this. This is what I'm going to mention, right? We spent too much time on Tennessee Titans right now, Corlin.
I'm sorry.
I know you love Tennessee Titans, but we got to keep moving, man.
We got to get to the other team.
We're gonna look up and it's gonna be midnight, and you're gonna still be saying an ode to Steve McNair, which I love Steve McNair, but we got to roll. We got to keep it moving.
Let's move on. I'm sorry,
but no, you good. You good. But we going to the Houston Texans. That is the next team. Now I know they haven't had much great things to talk about, but we're gonna talk about two players that anyone can identify from the Houston Texans. And also I want to say Jason Fearman said size and toughness is where he was going with the comparison to Big Ben and Andrew Luck, which I get that one. I get it in terms of the size and the toughness because both of them played through a lot of injuries, but Steve McNair to me was on a whole nother level. But the first guy we're going to talk about from the Houston Texans, Mr. Texan himself, J.J. Watt. All right. Does anyone know that he has 101 career sacks already? He has 2 seasons where he had 20 and a half sacks. 2. Those were in 2012 and 2014. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. That's 2012, 2014, 2015. 5 double-digit sack seasons. 5-time Pro Bowler. And a 2-time NFL sack leader. And the crazy part is the 20 and a half sacks he had in 2014, that didn't even lead the league that year, which is amazing to me. But, yeah. And he's still playing. I know J.J. Watt's still playing. But say his numbers, say he doesn't play this season in Arizona, he ended his career, retired as a Houston Texans player. Does he make the Hall of Fame based upon these numbers given currently? To me, I think he's definitely knocking on that door. I think with the impact he had over his time in the NFL, you could definitely make a case for him being a Hall of Famer, and I think he would be a Hall of Famer. I mean, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2 years, 20 and a half sacks, and that's not even measuring the impact he had on that Houston Texans team, which a lot of times their offense was either hit and go. I mean, you had Ryan Fitzpatrick play quarterback at one time. You had David Carr play quarterback at one time. And, you could probably switch both of them and say, hey, that was the same offense. So, it just, to me, he's got the numbers, and I think he would be a Hall of Famer based off his numbers. Now, I'll go to you, Chris. You want to go first and kind of mention this? I'll talk on this one?
Yeah, so if he retired now, never played a snap for Arizona, I would put him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, just based on his impact. And, I mean, as Cortland says, you compare eras. And if you look at the era that he's in, he has been a top pass rusher. I mean, barring the injuries, he's been a top pass rusher. But like you said, the 20 and a half sacks and having two seasons at 20 and a half sacks, like that's just crazy. And so yeah, I would put him in the Hall of Fame.
John, you got any comments on that one?
I have to say I agree. I think that he's done enough. If he retired today, I think he's done enough to deserve the Hall of Fame consideration, just based on his numbers, based on his effectiveness as an edge rusher, and his impact. I see that You know, I think he's almost like a can't miss guy as far as that. I think he's done enough to be in the Hall.
And Cortland.
Man, heck no, I ain't put no text in it. Nah, I'm playing. I'm kidding. Nah, definitely he's a Hall of Fame. Like I said, you compare eras, he was always the number 1 or 2 guy. Alden Smith kind of challenged him there for a second for like that top spot. But J.J. Watt, as the model consistency as a pass rusher, man, the dude has been amazing throughout his career. And we've yet to see what he's going to do in Arizona. But as far as just being a Houston Texan, minus the injuries, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer easily. He can hang him up today, and they'll call him up to Canton.
Gotcha. So it's unanimous across the board. Well, you know, we couldn't just name it a defensive guy. We've got to name the most famous offensive player to play for them outside of Deshaun Watson. That would be Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson, 14,185 career yards receiving, 70 career TDs, 3 1,500-yard seasons receiving. Yes, 3 1,500-yard receiving seasons. That's amazing. 5 100-plus reception seasons, a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time receptions leader in 2006 and 2008, 2-time NFL receiving yards leader, and to top it all off, he beat down Cortland Finnegan on national TV, and he really put the name to Beat by Dre. So to me, he is a Hall of Famer. He put the smackdown on Cortland Finnegan. He put the smackdown on the AFC South.
Oh my God!
And he handled his business, even when he had terrible quarterbacks throwing him the football. Does anybody remember Matt Schaub throwing him the football?
You can argue before Deshaun Watson. You can argue before Deshaun Watson. That was their best quarterback.
Yeah.
We're not even gonna mention that, man. But he's a Hall of Famer to me. What do you all say?
So I'm a bit biased when it comes to Andre Johnson. I'm a Hurricane fan. He came from the U, so I mean I'm a little bit biased, but I think he deserves to get in, just based off beating Cortland Finnegan up on national television. I mean that should get him in anyway. Like they should call him today and just put him in there off rip. But
can we get Andre Johnson to come out of the shadows and get on a commercial and like Beats by Dre, and then have like a shadow background of him boxing or something like that? That would be great. That'd be a great marketing.
Like him and Cortland Finnegan like doing a commercial together. That'd be
nah. You can't have if you have Cortland in it. Cortland's got to be doing like Brooke Lopez when he got dunked on the other night. You remember how he jumped like that? Yeah, he's got to be doing.
Man.
Now, John, you have anything to add?
I think from those numbers that you just said, what more? What more does this guy need to do to be in the Hall? He did it all.
Oh, I know what he needs to do.
What's that?
He needs to find out what's going on with the Houston Texans and fix it. He does that, he's unanimous.
Might be too late for that, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Only thing he probably can yell right now is "Fix it, Jesus." That's be about it.
Yes.
I'm gonna go yes because of what he did, what he was able to do, his production, but also because he's a former Titan, so it just strengthens our numbers in the Hall of Fame. So,
look, Portland,
we gotta get some guys in there, man.
I'm gonna get some guys in there. He will probably not go in as a Tennessee Titan. He will probably not go in as an Indianapolis Colt. He'll probably go in as Texan. And you're the only person I know that probably remembers that he even was a Tennessee Titan.
Hey,
that's crazy. He just got passed around the AFC South.
Yep. Hey, but all jokes aside, though, Andre Johnson, when you compare him to his contemporaries when he played, when he's at his peak, you can argue that he was just as good as Terrell Owens and Randy Moss at that time. Because the dude was on every ESPN top 10 highlight. He He's either jumping over somebody, throwing somebody off of him. He can run a 60-yarder in. He can catch the short routes. He was sticky-handed. The dude was just model of consistency, man. And he played the game the right way. Like when you name guys that played the game the right way, Jerry Rice, Larry Fitzgerald, and Andre Johnson, those dudes just played the game the right way.
Yeah, he just to me, I believe he hung on too long in Houston, and when he got to Indianapolis, he kind of wasn't the same guy anymore. But I'm still gonna talk about that Beats by Dre, man. You could mess around. We could find out what the 20th year anniversary of that is, and we could get like some headphones. Wow. Beats by Dre could put some headphones out and put like the picture of him going down like this. With George Corbin Finnegan, man, that would be marketing genius.
You're gonna cause another fight.
Genius.
You're gonna cause another fight. But no, man. But yeah, the year the Colts got him and Frank Gore, I was like, it's over, y'all. We just need to chalk this one up. The Colts won the division. Because I was like, I'm for sure these two dudes got something left in the tank. That was a scary time. Yeah. That was a scary time.
It proved to be very scary, and in the end, though. Just want to say hello to. I see. We got a comment from Tony D in here. Now this comment. Here we go. Let me throw it up there on the screen real quick.
Man.
Beats by Dre. Gotta love it. You gotta love it.
You let Mike. If they don't do it, Mike will go get some. He gonna spend that $500 and get some made himself.
Look, I already thought about my plan on putting it together and how to get these headphones made. Yep, I'm gonna get a prototype made and just send them out there. Hey Dre, go and cut me a piece of the company.
Wow. It's too late.
Never too late. Never say never. But anyway, we got to move on, and we're going to move on to the team that's last, but certainly not least in our hearts and minds.
Oh Lord,
the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh Lord, man.
All right.
I may not even have to respond to the question now because it's all because of what you just said.
Hey, no, Jacksonville has some solid players, man.
Oh yeah, they did. Man. I'm digging in the ball here.
Hall of Fame.
I'm digging in the ball here for a couple guys. I'm sorry. Hello to Cindy that just checked in. Hello from Tulsa. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for watching. All right. First guy I got is Fred Taylor. Now, Fred Taylor is the guy that I probably got this whole show concept from. So I heard some talk about him saying about he should be a Hall of Famer in his numbers and things like that. So I did a little digging into his numbers. Here's what I got. I got one Pro Bowl, which is 2007, 7 1,000-yard seasons. He played 13, so under half of his seasons were 1,000-yard seasons. 66 career touchdowns, 4.6 career rushing average. And one thing that Fred would probably like us to forget, he had about 20 fumbles or 29 fumbles over his career. So with all that being said, I'm sorry, Fred. I had to mention it, man. I'm sorry. But, John, do you think Mr. Fred Taylor, ye of the fresh gold tooth, is a Hall of Fame?
Well, I'll say this. I think if Fred Taylor played for San Francisco or Dallas or even Miami, it wouldn't even be a debate. He'd be in the Hall. But he played for Jacksonville. And I know a lot of people here in Jacksonville are big Tony Pacelli fans, and with reason. I mean, he was a great player. But I think the greatest player up in their history from 95 to now is Fred Taylor. I think he made a more impact on this franchise than any other player. And whether or not that deserves Hall of Fame, I don't know. But, I mean, he ranks up there in the top 20 in rushing. And you go back to that Miami playoff game when they beat Miami, 66 or whatever it was. He scored on like a 90-yard run. That's a Hall of Fame run.
I'll say this, John. I'm gonna come back to this. Since you said he's I'm gonna come back to that statement you just said later. But let's see. Did you have any more to say on Fred as well?
I'm saying that he's the greatest player in Jaguar history. And for a franchise that's been around since 95, I do think they deserve at least one person in the hall. And I think that person might need to be who we're speaking of, Fred Taylor.
All right. Chris, what you think, man?
Once again, another Florida boy. and Jacksonville holds a close spot to my heart because I'm from Jacksonville. But I don't know. I don't. Fred Taylor also had an injury problem, and so I think that's kind of what kept his numbers from being what they should have been. Because had he been healthy for the years that he missed, there's no doubt he's over 1,500 yards or 15,000 yards rushing, whatever. But I don't. At this point, I don't think he gets in. He's the greatest player in Jacksonville history, probably, but that's where it stops. I don't think he really transcended the game like that.
I'll come back to that statement you just said too. But Cortland, what do you think?
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think you can make an argument, because my argument for Eddie George is the same argument I would have for Fred Taylor. Both of those dudes were the model of consistency in their era. If you name the top three running backs in the early or late 90s to early 2000s, Fred Taylor, Marshall Faulk, Eddie George. Like, any team would have taken those three guys in a heartbeat. Fred Taylor was also, in my opinion, if you look at him and LT, the only difference between LT and him was LT played in a running back centric offense that featured him more often. Fred was out there doing the same stuff. He could catch the football. He could take a screen. He had the speed. That's something that a lot of people don't even talk about. He was a big running back. I think at 215, 220, like 6'2", and he can run you over, but he can burn you. I love playing with him. Like, when people pick the Titans, I would just go and pick the Jaguars and just dust you, because you couldn't tackle. And it was the same way in real life. And when the Titans, when we played them, that was one dude you had to key in on, was Fred Taylor, because if you didn't, he was going to gash you for 125, 130 a game. So, the dude is a Hall of Famer. Like I said, numbers and impact are two different things. And I think you got to weigh both, against the other. And I think his impact for that franchise was greater than the numbers show.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I think Fred might have a case. And John, you definitely made a good point there. If he played for like a San Francisco or a Dallas or anyone of that nature, he definitely probably would be. I agree with you there. But here's where y'all differ than where I do. Chris, I'm talking to Chris and I'm talking to John. I'm going to mention a guy named Jimmy Smith. He had 9 1,000-yard seasons and had one with 1,600 plus yards in 1999. 67 career TDs, 2 100 reception seasons, averaged 14.3 yards per catch, 5-time Pro Bowler, and he also led the NFL in receptions the year he had 1,600 plus yards. And he had, he did. Nobody really remembers this probably, but he was actually on the team when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl back to back. So he has 2 rings too. So for John, first, do you really think that Fred Taylor is the greatest player in Jacksonville history with those numbers I just gave you from Jimmy Smith? Secondly, Do you think that Jimmy Smith should be a Hall of Famer? Now I know I'm gonna say this. I know that Jimmy Smith got in trouble with the law. I know that. But I still think he should be a Hall of Famer. What say you, John?
Well, let's go back to what they call Thunder and Lightning. So it was another receiver on that team, right?
Keenan McCardell.
Right.
Yep.
So maybe having another receiver kind of took some of the pressure off of Jimmy Smith, or vice versa, you know. But I'm not gonna cheat what he did. His impact on the field obviously was great, but I still say the greatest player that had the biggest impact is Fred Taylor. I just feel strong about that. Jimmy Smith, I think if Jimmy was going to be in the Hall, he would have already been in the Hall. You know, I mean, when you look back what his eligibility is, and you know, he didn't make the semifinal, the top 25, the first 6 years he was eligible. So, and we can't take the elephant out the room. I think a lot of those voters did judge him on his off the field situation with the drug problem. But that doesn't take anything away from his impact, his talent. I mean, also Jimmy Smith didn't really come in this league as a superstar. He got cut twice. Got cut by the Cowboys, and he also got cut by the Eagles before he came to Jacksonville. So it definitely wasn't an easy road. He's a guy that put a lot into his craft. And when you with a Tom Kaufman offense, you have to bide your time with pass and run. It ain't always where they're gonna throw that ball 30 times a game, even though they had Mark Brunell. But the thing about him is he got separation. He was quick. He could get separation, and he made plays. But so did Fred Taylor make plays as a running back also. So that debate can go on and on and on. But I just don't think from when you look, if you're going to judge it also, because I've heard this in the chat, you judge it also by his era. Well, he played in an era where there was like Jerry Rice and folks like that. Michael Irvin was in that era. So there's a lot of receivers that was great receivers in that 90s era. So if you stack that up, where did he stack up with those type of receivers? Then I think that's how you have to judge him, whether or not he's Hall of Fame consideration.
Oh, here's something else that I didn't think of. That thanks for tuning in, Moose. And let me put this up here too. That Moose put up. Moose said a minute ago for Jimmy Smith. Smith is in the top 20 in career receiving yards. That says a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Here we go. All right, Chris, what do you think? Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, so with Jimmy Smith, and I've said this on Facebook or Twitter, Facebook, all of that, because I asked the question about Jimmy, Ocho, and Brandon Marshall. But in my opinion, I do think he's a Hall of Famer. And the thing is, the difference with him and Fred Taylor on that team or whatever. I mean, Fred Taylor, like Cortland said, you look at the era, look at all the running backs. There was a lot of running backs in that era that you could probably put over Fred Taylor. That just did their thing for the teams that they played for. I mean, Fred Taylor did his thing too. But with Jimmy Smith, I believe maybe out of all his seasons with Jacksonville, there may be like 3 or 4 seasons where he wasn't top 5 in receiving yards. So if we're comparing the era and what he did compared to the other receivers in that era, he was right up there with the best of them. So I mean, with that being said, I only think he's not in the Hall of Fame is because of the off the field issues. It's the same with T.O., the drama. And so I think that's why Jimmy Smith isn't in the Hall of Fame right now. With T.O., you really couldn't deny him for long. But with Jimmy Smith, you can make the case to keep denying him.
Yeah, quick sidebar. I actually was at Terrell Owens Hall of Fame ceremony. I was actually there in Chattanooga, actually covering it for the 3-point conversion. Shout outs to Raphael and the crew. Yep. So I was there and actually got to ask him a question. So And
Nice.
crazy bit of knowledge. How about he never saw Jerry Rice until he was in college? That is when he first saw Jerry Rice. That's when he switched his number to Jerry Rice's number when he was in college. So, yeah. But go ahead, Cortland. Are you gonna make it unanimous that he's a Hall of Famer potential, or they should be a Hall of Famer?
Jimmy Smith is definitely a Hall of Famer, and I'm gonna have to disagree with John here. Keenan McCardell, as good as Keenan McCardell was, what did Keenan McCardell do throughout his career after he left Jacksonville? Nothing.
Won a Super Bowl.
You know what I mean? But was he the leading receiver? You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't. Jimmy Smith got you there. You know what I'm saying? Like Jimmy Smith with Jacksonville got you there. He was the number one guy on that team. And Keenan McCardell did what he did his entire career. Played second fiddle. So the mentioning of Jerry Rice, not Jerry Rice, but I'm sorry, but of Keenan McCardell is almost insult to Jimmy Smith, in my opinion. Knowing what Jimmy Smith was, and like I understand like you saying that by impact, Fred Taylor was the greatest Jacksonville Jaguar, but I believe that you have to, if you look at throughout the history, you have to put Jimmy Smith at the number one spot because of his impact on that team. When you talk about Mark Brunell wouldn't have been what Mark Brunell was and revered as what he was if he didn't have a Jimmy Smith throwing the ball and having sure hands. Jimmy Smith could go over the top on you. He played across the middle. He played deep. He was sure-handed. Ran every route on the route tree. Tough guy. But like y'all said, it's the off the field issues, and I think he might get in. I don't know how many years he has left to like even make it in, but because I think they've changed the standards, so like you can't really take into account the off the field issue stuff. If you just take his numbers into account, after how long has it been since Jimmy Smith has left the league? Almost 2 decades now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about after 2 decades, the man is still in the top 20. Like, and this is a pass happy league. So we've had guys that have played almost 20 years and they still ain't topped what this man been able to do. He's a Hall of Famer easily. There should be no argument. And then it's like Chris said, look at his contemporaries. He was top 5 every year he was in the league. And then on top of that, Jerry Rice, you gotta look at what Jerry Rice is doing was ridiculous. Check if there was drug testing back then. I'm pretty sure he'd have been drug tested every week because Jerry Rice is ridiculous. Michael Irvin was ridiculous, but Jimmy Smith was just as ridiculous.
Hey, I'm sorry. You mentioned drug testing. You said Jerry Rice, and then you said Michael Irvin. Now Michael Irvin back in that day. That might have been some smoke in the city.
I mean, what I'm saying is performance. I mean, let me clarify that. Performance enhancing drugs, PEDs, because we all know the recreational stuff was,
Irvin would never play it down in football again.
Yeah, but Jimmy Smith to me, I have in my opinion, I have to say Jimmy Smith is the greatest Jaguar of all time, and a guy that didn't get mentioned, Big John Henderson, straight at the heart of Nashville. I love John Henderson, but as far as like a top 5 all time player for Jacksonville, but as far as Jimmy Smith, like in the hierarchy, you can vie for him and Fred Taylor being 1A, 1B, but I think you gotta get that nod to Jimmy Smith because his consistency and what he did in changing the culture for Jacksonville, because he gave them a superstar player that they didn't have. Fred Taylor didn't become a superstar until the early 2000s. So, I mean, like I said, Jimmy Smith is an all-time great receiver. Fred Taylor, you can argue, was great for his era.
Well, boy. I think we gave John something to think about, or did we not? But anyway, definitely
bring them back. That's what I say. Bring them back. Let Urban
need Jimmy Smith.
Oh Lordy. Well, Urban did have a chance to bring somebody back, and he brought back a guy that you mentioned about sitting on the bench and didn't want to go in the game. and we all know who his name is.
Yeah, we hope we don't see that again.
Man, they need
Honestly,
Jimmy back.
Honestly, he might not have a chance. He might not have a choice with the backs they brought in.
Yeah, you got that right.
He's gonna be willingly sitting on the bench at this point.
The third string guy may not get any carries.
Man,
that's
true.
They need Jimmy Smith. They need Justin Blackman busted out of jail. They need a time machine. They need a time machine to go back. Rejuvenate Mercedes Lewis. They're gonna get Mercedes Lewis rejuvenated.
Now, hey, hold on, Corlin.
Spoken like a Titan. I tell you what, that you guys don't need to bring. Don't bring Derrick Henry. I mean, come on, man.
Hey, we don't bring him. He bring us.
Yeah, you won't get no
us. We can't pull him.
You won't get no argument from me. No, sorry.
I'll say this about Jacksonville. Boy, oh boy. I thought we were gonna make it through a whole show without Mercedes Lewis being mentioned, but we didn't. We didn't make it. We didn't make it.
Hey, just tried, if he was here, he'd be starting. So
he probably would be.
It won't be no problem.
Mike, I got a bone to pick with you, Mike.
What's that?
I got a bone to pick with you. You ain't mentioned Brad for the Titans. You didn't mention Brad Hopkins. Mm-hmm. Left tackle. That dude was solid. You mentioned him. Javon Curse deserves to be in there. I give a nod to Samari Rowe. Should be in there. For the Jaguars.
He said Samari Rowe? Hold on.
I think Samari Rowe deserves it. Because he was a top dude. He was top coverage dude. Dude was a beast. And he's underrated. I believe he's underrated. And that's just from the 90s era.
We're going to mute Corlin for a little bit now. Just want to tell y'all that I had nothing to do with some of the comments that he said. Samari Rowe, no, he is not a Hall of Famer. But now back to your scheduled program. Go ahead, Corlin. Go ahead.
Man, let's see. Jacksonville, you didn't mention Rasheem Mathis. I think he deserves to be in there. Man, it's a couple of dudes. I mean,
I'm not gonna mute you again, but you did say Rashawn Mathis. I ain't gonna mute you again though. Rashawn Mathis was good though.
He was dope. He was cold.
He was cold. He was cold.
He was.
Yeah, I think so. For the Colts, I think Bob Sanders is a very underrated dude. I think Bob Sanders deserves to be in there, man.
He's underrated.
That's a bias. That's a bias.
I love Bob Sanders. He just could not stay on the field, and that's a big thing. Like
when he was on the field.
If he was on the field, he was
crazy.
Lights out. You come across that middle, he tearing you up.
And even in the pass game, he could snatch it. And he helped them win the Super Bowl too, I believe. So, I mean, that's just me. It's just me.
I love Bob Sanders though.
I think is Adrian James already in?
I think he did get in.
Did Adrian James make it in this year? I think he made it this year.
I think so.
Okay. I can say
even though he did try to sabotage himself by going to the Arizona Cardinals, but that's another story.
Yeah, but even then, he almost helped them bring one home though. So, he had 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards in Arizona.
Hold on, timeout. He did what?
He almost helped to bring one home in the Super Bowl, and they just ran into that monster. That yellow and gold. He just ran into that yellow and gold monster over there. That's all.
I'm gonna leave you alone, Corlin. I'm gonna leave you alone.
You gonna say Adrian James?
Chris saved you with the 1,200 yards. That's all I'm gonna say. Chris saved you with 1,200 yards. Rather than that,
man, the edge. You don't get a nickname. You don't get a nickname like the Edge for no reason.
Yeah, he was on the edge, in Arizona after a while. So, but
his knees was really bad at that moment.
Yeah,
that's my only bone.
Bob when he should have weaved, man.
That's my only bone. There was a lot of guys that didn't get mentioned. Derek Mason is another guy that I feel like should get a nod. But that's about it.
There's cool people, man. There's cool people, man. Him and Brad Hopkins, yeah, they definitely were the best of the Titans at that point in time.
Man. I think Derek Mason is so underrated in what he was able to do, man. Dude was he's so underrated.
Now, do you have anybody I may have mentioned or didn't mention tonight, Chris, that you think should have been Hall of Fame consideration?
Not for us. Now, I mean, Cortland mentioned Bob Sanders, and like I said, if it wasn't for injuries, I definitely think Bob Sanders should be in. But the injuries is what kept him out, or keeping him out, I believe.
I got
Dallas Clark.
Oh yeah, Dallas Clark.
I was gonna mention him, but
did Jeff Saturday get in?
I don't think Jeff Saturday got in.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think is he eligible? Is he eligible? Yet?
He should be, because it's 5 years, right?
Yeah.
He should be.
Peyton already get in.
Yeah, Peyton made it in this.
So Jeff Saturday. So Jeff Saturday should be eligible. Either he should be eligible.
Yeah, he's eligible now. He retired 2012, so he eligible now. So maybe Jeff Saturday or Dallas Clark. Yeah.
Now, I was gonna say that I had a theory about Bob Sanders. The reason why he wore that dark visor. Look, honestly, I think when he was healthy enough to play on the field, the reason why he wore that dark visor is he probably was practicing that medical marijuana back then before the games.
I don't doubt it.
I don't doubt it. I can say the same about Ed Reed, all of them boys.
Man,
Ed. Now I don't know this. I'll say this. I don't.
Ricky. Ricky was.
I'll say this. I don't know this to be fact, so I'm just throwing my theory out there. So no, nobody say I'm defaming his character. No, I'm just throwing out my theory. But okay, there we go. We're gonna leave it at that. Now, John, do you have any other Jaguars? I know you're going to mention Tony Baselli, and you already mentioned him, which honestly, I met Tony Baselli at the Super Bowl in Minneapolis. That's nice guy.
Yeah.
But do you have any other Jacksonville Jaguars? I mean, that can break that mold and be the number one guy, the Mr. Jaguar.
Number one guy. I mean, come on, they done had 9 losing seasons in 10 years. So no, I mean, Tom Coughlin will be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, not a player, but he'll be in there. And Tony Baselli, where it looks like what the rumor is, he'd probably be the first one inducted from the franchise, which I mean. So other than that, I don't think there's anyone else other than the guys that we mentioned. That we didn't miss anyone, not from what I gather.
Now, I will say this. If Tony Baselli gets in,
he's getting in.
Are they going to put a statue of an offensive lineman outside the stadium? I have not seen an outside. Has there been a statue of an offensive lineman outside any stadium in the NFL?
It's Jacksonville. I don't put it past them.
But you know what? I wasn't in Jacksonville for most of that era when the team first came here. I was out working in New Orleans, but one of the things that surprised me about Jacksonville is how regarded he is. I mean, he's on radio. And he did a lot of good things for the community. He gave a lot and things like that. But I mean, I've never been in a city where offensive lineman has been regarded as much as Tony Baselli in a city. So a little different for me, but particularly when you speak of a Jimmy Smith, I mean, they had like playmaking players, and it seemed like the playmaking players in Jacksonville has been overshadowed by an offensive tackle. So that's a little different.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's just Jacksonville has had so many good players, man. They just didn't have nobody that just stood out as a guy that you just like, I gotta put him in there. I mean, Tony Brackens was good, but he's not a Hall of Famer.
Right. Henderson,
Ian
but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
You can make an argument for John Henderson, but I think he'd probably be one of those guys that'll make it in on the very last.
Maybe the single circuit.
Back
The only
in Marcus
person-
Stroud. That's who Marcus Stroud. Marcus Stroud was a beast.
Yeah.
The only other person I could say is Maurice Jones-Drew. I mean, that's another one you could probably make an argument for.
Yeah. But are they going to take into account his Oakland years?
You know, in terms of his stretch of ratings. That's the only thing I would think of with him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to take into account his Raiders years
because those were terrible.
Those were horrible.
But you know, like the franchise, most of their success came far as like the first 6 or 7 years of existence. So it's kind of hard to.
Mark Brunell you can make an argument for Mark Brunell getting in on the back end.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Hey, you know what guy I remember on that team? I just remember him on the name alone and just the way he ran. Natron Means. Man.
Oh, man.
Yes. Natron Means. I remember that guy.
Natron. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That dude, I remember him playing for them after he played for San Diego Chargers and then he played for them. So I remember that.
Yeah.
It's hard to forget a dude with a name like Natron, though.
Yeah, you ain't gonna be able to. He's unforgettable. Well, everybody, I hate to tell you, but we've come to the end of the show. We definitely had fun. Wow, we've been on here an hour and 30 minutes. Wow, I didn't expect that tonight, but boy, oh boy. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I also want to thank you, Chris, John, and Cortland for coming on tonight. If you want to give your social medias and how people can reach out to you, the floor is yours. Starting with you, Chris.
So my social media, mostly I use Twitter. So that's at DropBallsPod. That's it, really.
Man, you ain't gonna talk about when the shows drop, man. Come on now.
All right, so I just actually dropped.
Don't have me out here listening to these podcasts. You don't talk about them.
I just actually dropped the podcast. This morning? Late last night. This morning. I usually drop them on Tuesday, but been a busy week, so I dropped it this morning. So you can listen to that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Drop Balls Podcast. Look it up. It's dope content, you know. I'm my own plug, dope content. So go ahead and check it out.
He said he's his number one fan, y'all, but he's looking for his number one fan, like us. But anyway, what I can say is, man, I definitely enjoy listening to your podcast, man. It's good stuff.
Appreciate it.
All right, John, you're up next.
Well, mostly I'm on Twitter. I'm at John Reed 64. And I write for the Florida Times Union, and all of my stories and articles is on Jacksonville.com.
Now, John, I've got a thought for you, man.
What's that?
I think you need a podcast, man. I think John needs a podcast.
Hey, man, if I get on a podcast on a regular basis, they might send me out of Jacksonville. I do get an idea.
We need somebody to advocate for him.
I might be talking about Tebow too bad as a 33-year-old tight end or something. So now,
Jesus Christ.
But I do. But John, I will be hitting you up though. I do got an idea to throw at you though.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And last but not least, we're going to go to the teenager of the group that just graduated high school.
No.
I'm sorry. But we're going to go to
that Titan fan.
We're going to go to Cortland, man. Go ahead and let them know how they can reach out to you, man.
Hey, and John, that's reigning AFC South champion Titans.
Oh, Lord. Okay. All I know, you got a running back from Yulee, Florida. So, all right.
Hey, it's
the Florida boys. The Florida boys.
He in Tennessee. He in Tennessee right now. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
At least for the next 3 seasons.
I still
we know it hurt. We know it hurt.
Hey, I just cover the team. I don't root for the team now.
But you can find me on Twitter at the C Griffey. It's spelled how it sounds. And I live tweet a lot of games on there, and I put my little questions and like hot takes on there too. So you can find me on there. Also, you can find me at 3-point conversion. Right on the WNBA, mostly baseball, NFL. So a little bit of everything on there. Find all my stuff on 3-point conversion. And I do have a podcast. It's not sports related, but it is Black Talk. So you can follow the Say It Out Loud podcast on all your major streaming platforms. Go there for your raw Black Talk. We do get a kind of, real on there. So, don't listen to it around your kids.
So do you get real as opposed to fake on there?
I'm kidding, we don't get fake on there, man. Ain't got no room for that.
Hey, thanks to everyone that's listening with Tony D, Moose, Ted. Let's see, Brian coming in with the Great Topic Award, man. Thanks for the award, Brian. Appreciate it. Let's see, who else was on here tonight? Let's see. Man, I just everyone that came in, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back I'll be back next Thursday. I don't know who'll be back with me, but of course, all three of these people on the show with me tonight, they're always welcome. They get to kick their feet up in the lounge when they come on the show. They're not necessarily a guest, had to stay at the hotel, but they come out the house in the guest room. But thank you all for coming on tonight. It's been a good show. And hey, if you're listening right now on all the different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, share it. Share the podcast. Share it. Not a podcast, the show. There we go. Share the show. I'm pretty sure that there will be people that have opinions on all the things that I said tonight, along with getting a few laughs. In my mind, some days I think I'm a comedian, which I'm really not. I just slept at a Holiday Inn one night and thought I was one. But thank you everybody for tuning in, and you all have a great night.
Peace.